Welcome to Discovering. The UP is home to 3,000 miles of groomed snowmobile trails. Tonight, we'll take a ride in the groomer.
I usually groom twice a week, but they are groomed every day.
I checked in with the DNR to get the scoop on Michigan's new hunting and fishing license structure. And we'll take a look at one of the UP's unique winter sites. That's all tonight, so sit back, put your feet up. It's Monday night and time for Discovering.
Secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forests thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill, the eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
Michigan is home to more than 6,200 miles of designated snowmobile trails, and is one of the only 3 states that offer a large system of interconnected trails. 3,000 miles of those trails are right here in the UP, and they're some of the best there is. Year after year, the Upper Peninsula has been rated as one of the best overall areas in the country. I took a ride with Jared Jenren of the Tri County Snowmobile Club to find out what it takes to groom a trail.
This is the Cassidy Creek Trail. Runs east and west, connects Trail 5 to Trail 115. A lot of maps don't have this trail on it even. This is our newest trail in the club. So it's kind of like a hidden treasure for a guy that wants to, doesn't want to go straight down a grade, you know. It's got a lot of nice windy corners, and yet it's a wide trail and flat. It's a lot of old logging roads, so it's a real easy trail to groom because you start out pretty flat. 119 miles of trails in our system. We do all the way to Iron Mountain, to the Menominee River Bridge over by Rivers Bend Campground there, just before you go into Spread Eagle. We go down to the US 8 Bridge in Norway. We go over to the Normenco, is another of our neighbor clubs. They're over in Waseda. Call it the Normenco Junction. That's where we turn around, or that's actually where we head north. We go all the way up to Foster City. From there, over to Felch. Then over, we do Trail 5 also, all the way up to, I think it's the Lehman Road. And then to Cassidy, which is this trail here. I usually groom twice a week. But they are groomed every day. One part or the other, you know, it might not be the same trail, but there's 6 drivers, 6 of us that drive at least 3 times a week. The main part is groomed, which means the most heavily traveled trails, like Iron Mountain, Norway, the grade, and Trail 5. This particular trail is groomed twice a week because it's very low traffic. We just kind of play it by ear. You know, all the club members ride, and you know they're on the trails, so they know. And we don't really have a schedule. It's you know, per se. I mean, everybody knows they're going to be grooming a couple times a week. Just go and get her done. Tri County's been I think they formed in 1971, I believe. They started grooming with a four-wheeler or an old snowmobile pulling a pallet. Just a few trails around the area, I believe. I don't know a ton of details. I just hear from the old timers talking. I believe in the late 80s, they bought their first real groomer. It was a track truck. It's basically a pickup truck with 4 tracks on it. They used that and started developing more of a trail system. And then in the early 90s, they got their first LMC, which is it's basically the same as this unit, except for this one is definitely more dependable. Still, there's a lot more maintenance on a unit like this versus, our other 2 groomers are pretty much a regular farm tractor. One has a set of South Sea tracks on it, 4-track system. Works really well. This unit we use for the other 2 are out. The third driver wants to go out, we'll use it. Or if we get a heavy snow, it's got better flotation, obviously, than the farm tractors. And then we use it to open up the trail every year, just because it's got such a wide packing area. Our first groomer, it's not even really a groom. We don't even bring the drags. We just we jump in this unit and pack the trail down, use the blade to push any trees off or saw any trees, or check the signage, stuff like that. Basically, drag works by moving and mixing snow. Snow comes in the front, gets shoved through a bunch of blades. They're all angled to the center. They bring the snow into the center of the drag. Basically what it does is processes the snow by mixing it all together. If you're not churning any snow, it's not grooming. So if you mix it together, it's like mixing dough. You want the same consistency. Snow might be a different temperature on one side than the other, but by mixing it all up, it actually breaks down the particles of the snow. And then when it goes through the pan, it evenly packs. The pan is at the back of the dray. It's the very, very last thing, of course. Then after that, it roughly takes anywhere from 2 to 10 hours for the trail to set up. So, all you guys that come across a groomer, you want to get right behind them, right on the groomed trail. Just think of that. That trail's not set up yet, so basically it's a waste of groom. If you do come across a groomer, stay on the one side, the non-groomed part. Allow that trail to set up. The longer it sets up, the harder it is. So it'll last 10 times longer. Best time to groom is cold. Colder the better. But you get down below 0 and machines, they don't like to run in cold weather like anything else. And the steel gets brittle on the drags. You break a lot of stuff. Pretty much the optimal temperature is right around 10 degrees or so. In my experience anyway. I was groom on the left side. This thing is slow enough where if I see somebody coming, I can slow it down and stop and be safe or get over. Or groom on the right side, it's hard to see that edge of the groomer. All us drivers, that's what we try to get as the widest trail possible, is to be safe and give people room to get around each other, stuff like that. Definitely want to point out that none of this would be possible without the landowners and allowing permission to come across. A lot of these trail systems go through a lot of private land, especially when you get towards populated areas, towards town and that, and even some camps and stuff. If there's a lot of I'm not sure how many, but I know there's a lot of landowners that the trail system goes through, and it's wouldn't be possible without them. They're the ones that support it enough where to make everybody else have a nice destination trail, flat and groomed, and 1 or 2 guys could say, "Oh, I'm not doing it no more," and then if there is no way around, the trail's closed. That's it. So definitely, shout out to them. One of the main reasons I do it is just to be out here. Not everybody can take a nice ride through the woods every day. Get to see a lot of lot of wildlife, a lot of deer, see some coyotes, just see that owl, it's just stuff like that.
So this year when hunters, anglers, and ORV riders go in to buy their licenses and their tags, they are going to notice that there are increases on their fees. There's a restructuring to our license system. This came about because we had not had a license fee increase for more than 15 years. And you can imagine with the way inflation increased during that time, our budget was really hurting. We had cut quite a few people programs. We had lost conservation officers and not been able to refill those positions. So this is a way for us to basically get our budget back on track, fill those positions, start doing more habitat work that we've wanted to do but haven't had the money to do. The interesting part about this license fee increase was this was not something that originally came from the DNR, and sure, we supported it because we needed to get more money to do the things that we wanted to do and that sportsmen want us to do, but the actual impetus for this came from the sportsmen groups across the state. MUCC, Michigan United Conservation Clubs, UP Whitetails, all of the big groups that you can think of that represent all the different hunting and fishing organizations, they brought this proposal to the legislature and said, we want to see these increases because we know the DNR cannot do the things we want them to do unless we start paying more for our licenses. Most of the fees went up on all the licenses, but they didn't go up a lot. For a deer license, it used to be $15 for one license. This year, it's going to be $20, so it's a $5 increase. The small game license used to be $15, but now we're going to have something called a base license, which is required of all all hunters. They must buy a base license for $11. It serves as their small game license, but it also allows them to get in the system and be able to buy other hunting licenses. So that's probably the biggest change to the licensing structure is this new base license. And that was created because when you buy a deer license or a turkey license, some of that money is earmarked specifically for deer habitat management, for turkey management, and that makes sense. The people that are hunting those species want that money to go back to the species they hunt. But we needed a more flexible way to fund our habitat work, to fund our conservation officers that wasn't taking away from the management of those species. So this $11 base license is going to help to fund those things. It allows you to small game hunt. It's not just a small game license. So that's one thing we need to clarify because people say, well, why don't you just call it a small game license? But it's not. There's a lot more to the base license than that. So that's $11. So instead of paying $15 to small game hunt, you're getting that for $11 plus you're funding conservation officers and other wildlife habitat work. Another change for anglers is they're going to see we no longer offer the restricted fishing license and then the salmon and trout stamp, the all species license. It's all one license now for fishing for $26. That is an increase for people who bought the restricted license before, but for people who did the salmon and trout fishing, they're actually going to save $2 this year on a $26 license. So anyone who gets a fishing license does not buy a base license. Base licenses are only for hunting. However, any fishing license and all base licenses do have a $1 surcharge on them. And the surcharge is going to fund marketing, outreach, and education efforts to try to educate the public more about the importance of hunting and fishing traditions in Michigan. Why do people do this? What purpose does it serve? And a lot of people don't understand how much hunters and anglers put into the conservation of wildlife species, and that we have such a strong heritage for natural resources in Michigan because of our hunters and anglers. So that $1 surcharge is going to go towards a campaign to educate the public. And it's actually going to be done by a marketing firm outside of the agency, and it'll be overseen by a council of people who represent hunting and fishing, ORV, all kinds of outdoor interests that's going to be appointed by the legislature to make sure that we are doing with that money what we need to do, that we are getting the messages out there we need to get out there to get the public more supportive of these sports and get them more involved, maybe get people trying out some things they haven't done before. So deer hunters, the big change they're going to see is that we have restructured the way the deer licenses are offered. Now we are going to have a single deer license, which can be used in archery, firearm, or muzzleloader seasons. That means that you'll have one tag, you can take one deer. It's good for does during archery season, it's good for bucks in archery, but only good for a spike or bigger during firearm season. So that's going to give you your one deer that's $20. If you want the option to take 2 bucks or 2 does, a buck and a doe, whatever combination, you're going to need to get the combination license. That is going to be $40. So basically every deer tag is going to be $20. You also are going to be buying that base license. So we are offering a new license called the Hunt and Fish Combo. Not to be confused with the deer combination license, it's the hunting and fishing combo. You'll get a combination license for deer, so you get 2 licenses, an all-species fishing license, and your base license, which includes small game hunting. And that's all going to be wrapped into one package for $76. So that's one way that this whole system is going to be easier for people when they go up to the licensing agent and they want to buy a license. They don't have to go through and buy 4 separate licenses and sit there and sign them and do everything that goes into it. They buy one license, they get their 4 licenses in that package. It's just going to be a lot simpler system. People who buy their licenses are going to notice this year that things have been very streamlined in our licensing system, especially if they buy them online. When they go out to our e-licensing system, they no longer have to scroll through over 200 different types of licenses to find what they're looking for. There's going to be 43 license types. So that in itself is going to make things easier. They'll also have the option to save a PDF of their license. So if you have a fishing license and you end up leaving it at home or you lose it for some reason, you're going to have a copy of that you can save onto your phone, your mobile phone, or your iPad and have that out in the field with you. So you could say, you know what, I don't have my license with me, but I have it on my phone, so I can go hunt, or I can go fishing right now or hunting right now, and I have everything I need. A lot of people have been asking, what are you guys going to use this license for, or the license fee increases for? Are you just all getting raises? Where's the money going? And a good answer to that is it's going to go to the things that the sportsmen have asked us to do. We have been asked repeatedly to do more habitat work, and so we're finally going to have the money to do that for all wildlife species. This year, for the first time, we're offering a wildlife habitat grant program and also a fisheries habitat grant program. The fisheries program has over $1 million available. The wildlife program has $650,000 available just for this year in 2014. And it's for sportsmen's groups, nonprofit groups, conservation districts, private landowners. They all can apply for this money, saying this is the project I want to do. It can be something they want to do on their own. It could be a project they want to do in partnership with the DNR. So they might have our expertise or our equipment available to them, but they're providing their time and their volunteer hours and money in kind to match that grant. So this is basically making the money from the license fee increases go further. We're getting more for our money by offering it through a grant program to do habitat work. We're also going to be hiring people. We actually have around 30 recruits in our Conservation Officer Academy right now that are being trained how to be a conservation officer. And also, RCOs are fully commissioned peace officers, so they can respond to any kind of call for a police officer or law enforcement officer. We are really happy that we're going to have this money to be able to hire more COs and have them on the ground, keeping people safe and also enforcing our game rules.
Here's a quick look at what's going on this week in the UP. The Department of Natural Resources will hold fur bearer registration hours at the Stevenson Field office on Thursday, March 6th from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Time. On Friday the 7th, it's cross-country skiing and snowshoeing by candlelight at the Van Riper State Park. The park is located 17 miles west of Ishpeming on Highway 41, and the trails will be lit from 7 to 9 p.m. And on February 23rd, the drawing was held for the Buck Levasseur Benefit Raffle. The list of prizes included guns, knives, prints, and much more.
To all the sporting organizations and everything that contributed, the UP Whitetail Safari Club, Many Gobblers, the Fish Club,
the many individual donors.
Unbelievable. We want to thank everybody. We couldn't have did it without the support of the Upper Peninsula.
Nothing, Tim. They put this together for me, and I first said I don't really want it. I don't really want, this raffle. But at the same time, I said, well, I got tens of thousands worth of bills at home and no resources to really pay them. So this is helping immensely. Thank you, all of you.
A huge thanks goes out to all the sportsmen and women across the UP who either donated a prize or bought tickets.
A couple of special guests. My sister Mary Ann and her husband John came up from downstate. And again, a lot of my great friends.
The UP is loaded with interesting and unique sights. Some you can only see in the winter. Join me for a hike into the Eben Ice Caves. The Eben Ice Caves are located a couple miles north of Ebon Junction in the Rock River Canyon Wilderness, one of 6 designated wilderness areas found in the Hiawatha National Forest. At the start of your journey, you'll find a parking lot, concessions, and bathrooms. The ice caves are pretty easy to get to thanks to the kindness of the private landowner who allows visitors access across his field. The 20-minute walk-in takes you through some great scenery along a well-packed trail. Snowshoes aren't necessary, but not a bad idea for a little extra traction at some of the icy spots. Rock River Canyon is 150 feet deep. During the winter, groundwater trickles over the sandstone overhangs. It freezes, forming giant icicles, until a wall of ice closes off the front of the outcrops, creating caves. The Eben Ice Caves are a must-see for all Yoopers, and just another one of the amazing natural wonders found here in the beautiful and unique Upper Peninsula. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again next week right here on Discovering.